It was a Wednesday night in Georgia. Theresa had just visited her sister recently. She brimmed with enthusiasm over her new apartment and the clean slate she had long anticipated. At last, things appeared to be falling into place. Around 10:30 p.m., she placed one last call to a friend. Theresa explained that she was heading back to the house she still shared with her soon-to-be ex-husband, just to pick up a few remaining items. Her plan was to wait until he was asleep to avoid any trouble. But from that point onward, she vanished completely. Her phone went quiet. Her car turned up in an odd spot, and the man she was trying to leave behind offered an account, yet something about it rang hollow. What really happened that evening would require years to surface, and the truth proved far more disturbing than anyone could have guessed. This is the story of Theresa Parker. Theresa Fielding came into the world on September 9, 1965, in San Diego County, California. She was the child of Claire and William Fielding. She grew up in a bustling household alongside her four siblings, Hilda, Jerry, Richard, and the youngest, Christina. From childhood, Theresa formed an especially tight connection with Christina, a tie that endured through all the years ahead. But her loyalty extended beyond just one sister. Family, in all its forms, always remained the core of who she was as a grown woman. Theresa was recalled for her gentle nature and relaxed demeanor. Her warmth made deep impressions, and that empathy steered her toward a career in public service. She took a job as a police dispatcher in Lafayette, Louisiana, where she excelled amid the high-pressure environment. Luckily, Christina and her family had moved to the same area, allowing the sisters to stay closely in touch. It was a bond both cherished greatly. Theresa's talent and dedication led to a promotion in September 1992. She advanced to supervisor of the Emergency Services Center in Walker County, Georgia. It was likely during this time that her path first crossed with Samuel Logan Parker, a local police officer born around 1956 and raised in Walker County. Samuel spent his early years roaming the woods and fishing alongside his brother Kenneth, who would later join him in military service and policing. To those nearest him, Samuel's identity was tied entirely to his uniform. He was a man devoted to his job, seldom letting anything else intrude. Yet beneath that professional facade lurked a troubling side. In the 1980s, Samuel wed a woman named Kayla Burrell. By 1989, during his second stint with the Lafayette Police Department, Kayla told friends that her husband had assaulted her physically while wearing his uniform. One friend, married to City Councilman Max Morrison, passed the alarming claims to Police Chief Dino Richardson and City Manager David Aldrich. No action followed. Samuel escaped any confrontation. The violence continued. Kayla suffered another terrifying incident after she confronted him over a brief conversation he had with a store clerk. His response was brutal. He pulled her by the hair across broken glass and chained her to a bedpost using handcuffs. Eventually, Kayla escaped the marriage. But even post-separation, Samuel's aggression escalated. He broke into her new home with a master key, pinned her to a couch, and held his service revolver to her head. He menaced her life and vowed that no one would ever find her body if she talked. Despite this horrifying background, Samuel later courted Theresa, who seemingly had no knowledge of his violent past. His charisma won her over swiftly. He told Kenneth she was smitten, and Christina found him charming and polite. He appeared to be the perfect match. On September 11, 1993, Samuel and Theresa exchanged vows. Their early married years overflowed with intensity, but also frequent arguments. They loved fiercely yet clashed often. The shadowy aspects of Samuel's nature resurfaced. Professionally, he climbed ranks and peaked in his career by 2002. At home, though, their marriage had descended into turmoil. On May 4 of that year, first responders were called to their residence over a domestic incident. Samuel, drunk and enraged, screamed at Theresa, charging her with infidelity. Upon arrival, officers saw the home in chaos. Women's clothes and belongings strewn across the lawn. Theresa wept with a noticeable red mark on her cheek. When asked about the injury, she claimed she had scratched herself. She refused to file charges and asked only to spend the night elsewhere. Under Georgia Code 17's predominant aggressor law, officers had to arrest a clear perpetrator in domestic violence situations, irrespective of the victim's preference. Samuel should have been taken into custody, but the supervising officer chose inaction. His decision lets Samuel escape accountability. That officer later justified his inaction in 2002, stating he did not wish to make Theresa a victim. His failure to record the event or arrest Samuel brought no penalty, no paper trail, no review. The episode vanished. By April 2003, Theresa and Samuel tried to salvage things with a getaway. They headed to Panama City Beach of Florida, a coastal spot famed for its miles of white sand and turquoise waters. It was meant to be a soothing escape. They lounged in the sun and unwound before dining at a seaside restaurant. But midway through the meal, something set Samuel off. His mood soured. He threatened to handcuff Theresa, kill himself, and make her haul his corpse. He may have hinted at taking her life too. The fear intensified after they left the eatery. Samuel shot his revolver out the car window. Witnesses promptly called police. When officers responded, they found Theresa in tears and shaken. Samuel, deeply intoxicated, acted wildly and hostile, though he conceded to suicidal threats. He rejected claims of firing a gun or even owning one. Yet his story unraveled fast. Officers found 2 firearms in his vehicle, one recently discharged. Given the gravity of his threats and instability, Samuel was transported to a mental health center for evaluation. He fought the process. En route, he made a chilling remark to officers: with his police experience, he could dispose of a body so well that it would stay hidden forever. After 72 hours under watch, he was discharged and went back home with Theresa. Time did nothing to heal the wounds. Samuel's mental state worsened, fueled by non-stop drinking. Alcohol no longer stayed confined to nights, it seeped into his workday. Their already fractured home life shattered entirely. In April 2006, Theresa confided in 2 of Samuel's co-workers, Dino and Sheriff Steve Wilson, seeking help. She met them for 45 minutes, detailing his erratic conduct, his alcoholism, the Florida episode, and his ongoing threats. She made clear she did not seek his arrest. She simply wanted him out of the house. Soon after, Theresa took her first major move toward freedom. She filed for divorce. Her sister Christina stood by her, noting that Theresa glowed with relief rather than sorrow. It felt like the right path. By early 2007, Theresa geared up for a fresh start. She hunted for an apartment close to Christina so she could be near her nephews. Although still sharing the marital home with Samuel, the prospect filled her with optimism. On March 21, 2007, Theresa finalized the apartment lease, and the move energized her. That evening, she stopped by Christina's, and they chatted eagerly about the new place and upcoming plans. But as they embraced farewell, Christina detected an odd emptiness she couldn't pinpoint. Around 10:30 p.m., from her new apartment, Theresa called her dear friend and co-worker, Rhonda Knox. She shared that she planned to slip back to the marital home in Lafayette briefly to grab some things. She would wait until Samuel slept. Anything to dodge a clash. That night, Theresa Parker vanished. Around 2 a.m. on March 22, Samuel showed up at the home of Christy Bellflower, a woman he was allegedly involved with, and borrowed her phone to call fellow officer Ben Chaffin. What he revealed was shocking. He admitted harming Theresa and stated no one would ever find her before hanging up. He cautioned Ben to stay quiet or suffer repercussions. At 5 a.m., Samuel departed Christy's place. Investigators later suspected that in those pre-dawn hours, he disposed of Theresa's body. They believed he drove to a remote spot roughly 30 miles from Walker County, near a river and a hunting path, a location familiar to him from boyhood. At 6 a.m., Rhonda Knox got a call from Theresa's phone. Silence greeted her, the line went dead. Multiple tries to reach Theresa on cell and home lines failed. Concerned, Rhonda alerted Shane Green, a friend at the Walker County Sheriff's Department, urging a welfare check. Shane and Deputy Corey Griffin headed to the Lafayette house and inspected the grounds. Samuel's gray truck sat outside, but the garage door was shut. Shining a flashlight through a crack, Shane spotted Samuel's patrol car inside, yet Theresa's vehicle was gone. Christina, still oblivious, figured her sister was occupied unpacking. By afternoon, though, worry mounted. Theresa's SUV reappeared at the shared house. But she remained missing. Her phone stayed silent. No sightings. Even Samuel called her repeatedly. Over 24 hours had passed without word. Christina grew desperate. On Saturday, March 24, the Parker family submitted a missing person report. Friends, neighbors, and locals mobilized fast. Vigils formed, flyers spread, searches launched, all hoping for answers. Aware of the delicate nature, Sheriff Steve Wilson brought in the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Special Agent James Harris took the lead, starting at Theresa's new apartment. He found clothes, shoes, and her work uniform, but no trace of her. The community united. Teams combed woodlands, drained ponds, checked landfills. The area was vast. Dense forests surrounded the former home endlessly, and doubts intensified. Special Agent Harris questioned Samuel. He claimed Theresa had departed willingly amid the divorce, but inconsistencies in his version sparked red flags. Something felt off. The Parker home underwent 5 searches. Investigators seized old rifles and firearms, none evidently linked to the vanishing. Samuel reacted angrily, claiming police unfairly singled him out and urging them to scrutinize Theresa's possessions instead. Authorities used tracking dogs scented with Samuel's odor from his clothes and patrol car. The canines followed a trail uphill, then down, aligning with the notion he had carried a body into the forest. Still, Samuel clung to his narrative. He said she left. He accused officials of inventing a story lacking proof. But a glaring gap involved the officer who took Samuel's confession. He withheld it. As months dragged on and tips faded, scrutiny deepened. Yet clues steadily circled back to Samuel. Another home search yielded what looked like blood traces, spotted by a crime scene expert. The matter had evolved from missing person to homicide. As forensics progressed, a disturbing fact surfaced: Samuel's vehicle had been thoroughly cleaned. The interior showed signs of scrubbing and wiping. But the accumulating proof neared a tipping point. After 25 years in law enforcement, Samuel Parker was fired from the Lafayette Police Department not for on-duty issues, but for keeping explosives in his work locker. His dismissal solidified suspicions. He had lost control, no longer respecting the badge he once prized or the system that had protected him. Then came the breakthrough that changed everything. Forensic analysis verified Theresa's blood and Samuel's DNA in the back of his truck. With this evidence, on February 4, 2008, Samuel was arrested and formally charged with murdering his wife. He persisted in claiming she had fled to Florida or perhaps left the country, but no body existed, no conclusive link. Nevertheless, the case proceeded to trial. On August 17, 2009, court began. He chose not to take the stand. His defense contended Theresa might still live. Samuel's ex-wife testified about the terrors she suffered. Then, in a courtroom shocker, Officer Ben Chaffin revealed what he had hidden: the early morning call where Samuel confessed to killing Theresa and bragged her body would never surface. Multiple witnesses described how Samuel frequently boasted about his intimate knowledge of Georgia's woods, enough to conceal a body forever. With that and other indirect proof, prosecutors built a sequence reconstructing how Samuel likely killed Theresa and hid her remains. The defense pushed back, stressing no direct tie to her death, no corpse, no murder weapon, no eyewitness. But in September 2009, the jury delivered its decision: guilty of malice murder, making false statements, and breaching his public oath. The judge imposed life without parole. Samuel remained stoic. In the courtroom, Theresa's family shed tears. Christina, grateful for the conviction, still grappled with the harsh reality. Samuel, now locked away for life, probably alone, knew her sister's resting place, yet he said nothing. Samuel's attorneys appealed, arguing insufficient evidence and trial errors. They sought a retrial, but events intervened. 3 years after Theresa vanished, on Monday, September 20, 2010, in the afternoon, a man named David paused from hauling corn and wandered a wooded stretch near the eastern bank of the Chattooga River, close to the Alabama border. He stumbled upon something startling: a human jawbone. David alerted authorities at once. That evening, more skeletal fragments emerged in the vicinity. Darkness halted the search. The next day, a bigger crew returned. Additional bones and clothing items were gathered nearby. Coincidentally, another effort to locate Theresa's body unfolded elsewhere, distant from the state line. Once secured, forensic experts compared dental records. They verified the grim fact: it was Theresa. Even then, Samuel offered no details about that night. Though her remains surfaced, one key question lingered: how precisely did her body reach that remote site? It might have been Samuel's initial choice, or river currents could have shifted the remains, no one knew for sure. After over 3 years exposed outdoors, experts could not pinpoint the exact cause of death. Yet her identity removed all uncertainty. On the evening of Tuesday, September 21, 2010, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and Walker County Sheriff's Office notified involved agencies. Most crucially, they contacted Theresa's family. After years of anguish and tireless pursuit, the Parkers gained partial closure. On Wednesday afternoon, Sheriff Steve Wilson held a press conference. Between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m., local media assembled at the Walker County Courthouse. Cameras poised for the evening broadcast. The event took place in the public affairs room in the courthouse basement. "It is a difficult day to report," Sheriff Wilson started. "But it is a day that provides peace to the family, to her loved ones, to her co-workers, and to the hundreds who devoted themselves to this case for over 3 years." His statement ran about 15 minutes. Then he fielded questions. He reaffirmed his department's unwavering search for Theresa. Now, with her remains identified, the jury's verdict seemed entirely validated. Officials extended sympathies to the Parker family, acknowledging that while grief persisted, they could finally lay her to rest. Even former supporters of Samuel saw their doubts vanish. The discovery dismantled any lingering faith in the ex-officer's innocence. Still, some criticized the delay in recovering her body. Observers noted searches had focused within a 4-county radius but overlooked the southern edge of Chattooga County. Only a farmer's chance find revealed the truth. Days later, authorities issued the medical examiner's findings. It confirmed long-held suspicions: Theresa died by homicide. The report could not specify the precise mechanism. Despite the gaps, investigators concurred that nothing new bolstered Samuel's appeal. Sheriff Wilson stressed the conviction stood firm. On Thursday, October 7, 2010, relatives and friends convened at the Walker County Civic Center for a memorial honoring Theresa. Family, friends, and community members gathered to remember her. The next day, a funeral service occurred at the First Baptist Church of Lafayette. Burial followed on Saturday, October 9. Sheriff Wilson attended personally. By then, Samuel Parker had spent 14 months behind bars in a Georgia state prison, serving life. In a rare move, he gave an interview to a local news outlet. Displaying no regret, he maintained his innocence, criticizing prosecutors and alleging his portrayal as violent and erratic was fabricated. He claimed evidence tampering, but the court stood resolute. In November 2014, the Georgia Supreme Court affirmed his conviction. Justice prevailed for the Parker family. Theresa's absence would forever burden them. She had been their heart, a devoted sister, daughter, and friend. They knew no ruling or punishment could bring her back. Yet assurance that her killer could never harm another offered solace. In her honor, the family committed to raising domestic violence awareness, speaking out, educating others, and helping people spot red flags early. Theresa Parker's story transcended tragedy. It became a rallying cry. If you found this case compelling, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Hidden Cases Files. We post crime case videos every night. Until next time, stay sharp, stay vigilant.